Hey everyone, my name is Megan Brown, aka That Girl Megan. I'm the Senior Social Media Strategist at iAcquire, and I'm here to bring you part 1 of Chapter 6 of Karen McGrain's Content Strategy for Mobile. Chapter 6 is all about information architecture. So of course she starts talking about how information is received is very different than it used to be. For example, you used to just only have ink on a page. Once it was published, it was printed, that was it. However, now things are a lot more flexible because you can constantly be updating or changing things online, and you need to make sure that your information architecture reflects that. Also, people used to think in terms of pages. Now you need to think in terms of packages because there's a lot more that you need to put together than just a headline for a page. You need to make headlines for mobile, for however someone receives your information, for desktop. So it's really important to keep these things in mind when creating a strategy for your information architecture. Also, you need to take into account that you need to help the user, especially on mobile, find content more easily. This is because sometimes on mobile things are recycled, or they're all junked up, or they don't optimize for mobile, so it's really hard for a reader to make their way to A, what they want, or B, even know that they want it. So Karen references trigger words, which are words that sort of tell readers what they're going to get, as well as entices them to click. Sort of like a call to action, but also combined with something that's stating what you're going to get when you click there. On mobile, you don't want someone to be frustrated from tapping all over their phone and just leave your site or not be interested in what there is on it. Also, you shouldn't rely on labels. This means that always on mobile, a lot of time is put in by brands into their home pages for the navigation bar or the sidebar. However, once a user journeys further into their site, these are gone. Or they've just completely disappeared, or they reappear in a different form that isn't really helpful. You can't necessarily rely on what labels you use even on your desktop site for mobile. You need to make sure that you're accompanying your user and reader on every part of their journey throughout their site and helping them find their way. It's also important to include teasers. Teasers are short little descriptions that also will entice users to click. You need to use your trigger words in these teasers. That means include those action verbs. Tell them what they're going to get. Make them know exactly what they'll receive at the other end of that link. Most importantly, truncation is not a form of content strategy. Don't recycle what's on your desktop for mobile. It won't look good, it won't sound good, and it definitely won't help your readers at all. First of all, when you truncate things, there's no teaser, or it's the wrong length, there's no trigger words, and the formatting is wrong. Something that's a block quote or bullets shows up differently on desktop than it does on mobile. You need to make sure that your formatting that you want is reflected on mobile and is best for mobile, or any platform that you're distributing your content on. Also, you need to get in the reader's head. Like I said before, you need to follow them on their journey. Know what they're thinking, or know what they're thinking when they're looking for a specific thing. This helps you sort of come up with the words for your teasers, as well as come up with ideas for how they're going to travel throughout your site. This will not only make your content better, but it will also help you better optimize for the right platform. So let's get into a little bit the different sections that you'll have to look at when you're creating your information architecture for different platforms. First of all, you have page titles and headlines. You need to take in consideration location, location, location. They aren't just at the top of the page anymore. They're everywhere. You need to know where they'll be and what exactly they'll say. As she said before, no truncation. If your page title is truncated, people don't even know sometimes where they are. Also, she suggests writing a system so that you sort of have page titles and headlines for every type of platform or every way that the content is distributed. Some examples that she included were external SEO, internal search, social, the teaser, and as well as crafted for iPhone and Android. It's important to take all of these into account because they all have different character lengths that they allow and constraints so that you know that you're meeting the right constraint for everything. However, most importantly, do not create content for a specific context. Create content that you can use in different contexts. However, focus instead on the length of it, the tone and the style. For example, who are you speaking to? How are you speaking to them? You're talking to humans, you're not talking to robots. Are you talking to the search engine? Are you not? As well as you can create something she calls a super combo, in which you create a secondary headline that can be a little bit longer that's somewhere else on the page. The New York Times does a really great example of this, so if you check them out on their mobile site, you can see that. Another section that she goes into is summaries. Once again, no truncating. She uses an example of saying that Blockbuster recycles all of their content on their mobile site. This means people don't even know what they're clicking on, there aren't full descriptions, it's very hard to navigate. However, they recently filed bankruptcy because mostly of their competitor Netflix. Netflix is on a lot of different platforms, and they've optimized their information architecture so that their summaries show up completely on all of these things. She also suggests, just like you do for your page titles and headlines, write a system. In fact, the easiest way to think of things is in terms of a content package. You want all of the different chunks you need for each platform included together. This means that if you're creating a system for page titles and headlines, summaries, and any other part of your content, then you're writing every single different part you need for each platform. This means that also it will meet the constraints of a platform as well as be optimized for its readers, as well as the length, as well as the tone. Also, most importantly, along with this, you should have a good CMS. A good CMS encourages authors to actually create these content packages so that they'll understand why they're there, as well as how to write them and the constraints that are on them, so that they'll regularly create them so that you don't have to keep going back to authors and asking them to do it, as well as they'll understand the implementation of it. On top of that, it also polls per platform. You don't have to be going in manually for the distribution of your content on every single platform. So it's really important that your CMS can do this automatically and pull what's necessary per platform. So to review, if you take away one thing from Chapter 6, Part 1, it's that truncation is bad. If you take away two things, know that content packaging is good. And if you take away three things, congratulations, you're a scholar of Cliff Notes Tuesday. Thanks, have a great day.